Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, founder of a revolutionary medical sales training and mentorship program called the Medical Sales Career Builder, and I'm also host of the Medical Sales Podcast. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire world. It doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing and diagnostic lab, you name it, you will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 10% performer within your role, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. And remember, I am a medical sales expert sharing my own opinion about this amazing industry and how it can change your life. Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, and today we have with us Jerry Diza. Now, this is an episode you absolutely want to hear, especially if you're someone that's been in medical sales and you're looking for your next opportunity. Maybe you want to get a business. Maybe you want to sell a business. Maybe you know people that want to get businesses and sell businesses, aka your customers. This is the episode you want to hear. Jerry Diza is a business broker in the healthcare space, and the opportunities he has privy and knowledge of are amazing, and they're opportunities you're going to want to know. So as always, we do our best to bring you innovative guests that are doing things differently in the medical sales space. Make sure you listen to this episode, tune in, pay attention, and I really do hope you enjoy this interview.
So we sell medical-based businesses nationally with revenues between $1 million to $20 million a year. So we're lower market M&A. So we would sell like medical practices, urgent care centers, medical spas, weight loss clinics. We sell medical equipment supply companies, like lab supply companies. We sell staffing agencies for medical, anything medical based, because our buyers are strategic buyers and private equity buyers. And they're national.
Yeah, that was my question. Who are your buyers?
Yep. Okay. So it's private equity, it's strategic buyers, and it's high net worth clients, just investors that have a lot of money that are looking to buy profitable companies.
Are they mostly doctors? Are they mostly business professionals? Are they mostly
not necessarily? No, it's a good mix. Money doesn't discriminate. So if you're not a doctor and you're looking to buy a medical practice, there's ways around it. I mean, there's different entities you can form to buy a medical practice. That's why there's a lot of investors that own urgent care centers, right? They're not doctors, but they run it as a business, and they have a medical director on staff.
This is a little off topic, but is it? I mean, can some of these businesses that people buy from you, are they passive, or are most of the sales you make, when they get the business, they are fully involved, pretty much running it like a CEO?
So it's probably 60% absentee-run, meaning that the owners aren't there every single day working. And maybe the other 40% is, the owner is more hands-on. So you're going to get a higher multiple, higher valuation when it's absentee-run, right? When the owner's not, when he's at the golf course. So think of it like...
Can you give me an example of? I mean, you got me curious.
Okay.
Can you give me an example of an absentee-run business that just doesn't require that person that much?
Well, yeah. For example, I had a doctor. He owned three urgent care practices, right? 3 urgent care centers, but he's not the guy meeting patients anymore. He's strictly admin. He's managing the doctors under him, right? And he's overseeing, the labor. He's overseeing cost of goods. He's overseeing the management. But he himself is not at the practice himself. He's not seeing patients anymore. He's strictly admin now.
And okay, so let's just talk about it. So let's say, I'm a businessman and I want to get one of these businesses, maybe an urgent care center.
Okay.
What, and I'm just kind of just have an idea. What are we talking about here? Is it going to what is the revenue? If it's absentee especially, what am I looking to, on the average, make yearly that's making me even want to invest in this?
It ranges, right? I mean, you can find a little small. Again, I'm just going to use urgent care for example. Urgent care center, that maybe in a rural area, maybe it's doing $600,000-$700,000 a month in revenue, a year in revenue, right? But then you can get another urgent care center, let's say in LA, right? And it's doing $3 million in revenue. Well, the multiples and the way it's run is going to be totally different. There's no I can't just say, well, this is what the average goes for.
But,
right?
but can you say on average, you're making 20% profit, 30%, 50% profit?
Yeah. No, yeah. On profit margin, I mean, you're doing good at 25 to 30%. Like med spas, that's typically what they shoot for is 3%. When you, and again, it depends on at what level too, right? If your revenues are only, let's say, 700,000-800,000 a year, versus another same practice at 2 million a year, your profit margin is going to be a lot bigger at the 2 million level because your labor costs are the same, right? So my labor cost is fixed now, but what's going to change is my cost of goods, but everything else, my rent, my utilities, my labor. So it also depends on how is it being run, right? How good is the owner running the practice?
Do you guys consult there, or is it you just broker the deals and it's
No, we
it's up to
consult
the
too.
person?
Yeah, we're advisors too. We provide advisory services.
Okay, what are the what are like the minimal investments? What if I want to get a med spa and urgent care? What am I looking at spending? If I want to just get my feet wet with this.
See, again, it's like this. Well, how much does a car cost? Well, it depends, right? Are you talking
No, well, I
Mercedes?
can answer that. I can answer that. I can say, okay,
Okay,
cars.
how do you answer that?
If you want a beater, just to get somewhere, under 30 grand. If you
A
want to get a
beater.
good spot,
How
30 to
much? How
60.
much?
If you want a beater, just to get somewhere, under 30 grand. If you want something reliable, 30 to 60. If you want something high end, 60 and up. See, I just answered your question.
Okay, well, okay, I don't know how to answer that because again, every business is run differently, right? You can have the same exact business, literally a block down the road, and it's run completely different.
I guess I'm asking,
and I don't know how to answer that.
What is the minimum amount for the kind of businesses you guys broker? What is the smallest investment someone can make to have one of these entities?
Okay, so we don't have on our side a minimum price for a business, right? I mean, what we shoot for is, again, a business that has revenues between $1 million to 20 million a year. So let's just say at $1 million a year. Okay, let's just use a blanket statement here.
A med spa making $1 million a year. How much would that cost?
Perfect. Okay, a med spa making $1 million a year. Let's say it's absentee-run. Okay, the owners there maybe 2 days a week providing injector work, or maybe 1 day a week. Okay, so semi-absentee run. In a good location. So let's say it's located in by Beverly Hills on a main thoroughfare, lots of traffic, and it's got good staffing to provide. There's no issues with the personnel, and it's running at a 25% profit margin. Okay, so it's making $250K a year out of $1 million. Okay, so that might sell for maybe a 3 to 4x multiple. So 3 times $250K is $750, right? 4 times would be $1 million. Now, depending on the buyer, different buyers will pay a different multiple, right? So strategic buyers might pay a little bit less. Private equity might pay a little bit more. Or that doctor who's tired of working at Kaiser just says, I'm so burned out of working at Kaiser, I want to go out on my own. I'm going to pay a premium. He'll pay more because that specific med spa is located a block down the road from his house, right? And he's used to driving 45 minutes each way to get to Kaiser. Well, yeah, there's value to that. So the price range, it will range between 3 to 4x multiple depending on the buyer.
Got it. How often do people buy these businesses from you?
All the time.
And so how often is that happening? Is it usually what you see is what you get, or do you have a lot of scenarios where they invested in a med spa that was only doing less than $1 million? But because of their management, it's now doing 4 or 5 million. I mean,
that's the goal. I mean, that's the ideal for a buyer, is that they find an undervalued business, right, where they can come in there, do minor changes, and then bring up the revenues, which brings up the value, brings up the multiple, and then they sell it down the road. It definitely, absolutely. I mean, that's what most buyers want.
Right. And does your company, because you're saying you're consulting, it sounds like you're heavily involved. So are you guys getting a piece of that? And all the companies you're working with, you guys are getting a piece of those as well?
So there's 2 routes, right? I mean, if we're like, for example, my last client, she had a high volume med spa, and I worked for over a year, but more on just she would just call me, once a month just to say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So that was just very, very, very minimal, right? But I gave her tips so that when we took it to market, it would sell for top dollar. That's different than where I have doctors that have hired me to do due diligence for them and go in deep dive into, let's say, a medical spa that they're looking to buy, right? And they'll ask me to look into the labor costs and to the cost of goods and to the way it's being run. That's different. We charge for that. but we don't
Got it.
charge for the basic. Oh, I'm thinking of selling my company next year. Can you give me some advice, right, or tell me how it's running? Because it's not as time consuming for us. But
Right.
either way, they're going to get help from us, because obviously our goal is to get the business to top value so that when they do sell it down the road, right, everybody wins.
Wow, this is fascinating. Okay, so do you have situations where someone's like, "Hey, I have $500,000. I want to buy a business. I have no idea what I want to buy. I want to buy something that's going to make me some money. I want it to be in healthcare, and I love the reputation you guys have built. Let's talk." Do you guys do something like that, or the person
Not
needs to
so
have much
much.
more?
Yeah, that's not so, only because we don't have the time to do that, right? That's very time consuming. And, I've got a number of clients that I'm working with that require my attention. So it's hard. When you come to me, basically we have listings, right? If you go to our website, you'll see what we have for sale. If one of those fits your criteria, then great, let's talk. But I can't
You call.
guide you as to what business you should buy. That's so subjective, right?
Right. But you will guide if they buy any of those businesses on your site, you will work with them to make sure it gets profitable, depending on what you guys negotiate as a working deal.
Yeah. I mean, I try to be as transparent as possible, and I tell them what I think is happening in the business and what they can possibly do to increase revenues. But the reality is, most of my buyers are high net worth clients, and they're very sophisticated, financially astute. They know what they're already going to do before I even talk to them.
Gotcha.
Especially strategic buyers. But strategic buyers, they might already own 2 or 3 med spas. They know what they're doing. They don't need me. They just need me to find the deal.
Gotcha. That's cool. And then when you say find the deal, if I wanted to buy a med spa and I trusted you guys would be the ones to do it, I can just go to you and say, "Hey, I want to buy a med spa. I want to be in this price range. Can you make it happen?" And then you guys will work to try to make that happen.
That's more of a search fund type thing, where you're coming to us to help you search for a business. So we've done that in the past, but we charge for that, right? Because it takes additional time for me to take my resources to put someone on that and track that down. But yeah, we do that type of stuff. But typically we find, okay, so most of my clients, not all my clients, are sellers, right? We are actively looking daily for businesses that are looking to sell. Okay, so we're sell side M&A, right? We are on the sell side, because that's where everything starts. Without a listing, you have nothing to sell.
Right.
Okay, so it's important that's what we're doing on a daily basis, is looking for more good listings so we can help the buyer. Otherwise, we can't help the buyer.
No, I get it. And you say you have a good mix. You have, all kinds of business professionals. Do you ever have medical sales professionals, as in like a rep that, made a lot of money and now he wants to branch out, do something different,
Oh yeah.
buying businesses?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Especially
Okay, so
yeah.
talk
Yeah,
to us about that.
it just goes back to the money, right? I mean, if if you want to be a business owner, you're going to buy a business. The nice part is financing it's actually easier to get financing for a business than it is a house, because
Right.
when a buyer looks for a business, the bank, the SBA lender, is looking at the business primarily. Okay, what type of profit is it doing? Can it cover the debt service on the loan, right? And secondarily, it's the buyer. Now, of course, the buyer better have experience, right? He better, he can't be a restaurant owner and all of a sudden he wants to buy a medical practice. That won't fly, right? But if you're, for example, like you said, a sales rep. Let's say you're a medical spa sales rep. You work for Galderma. You work for Allergan. You know the industry. You've been doing it for the last 3 years now, right?
Yeah.
You're a good candidate to get financing from SBA to buy a medical spa or a weight loss clinic or whatever else that you're already in the industry.
Yeah, no, this is okay. How much, and you don't know exactly, but give me a percentage. What's the percentage of medical sales reps that are your customers?
Yeah, not so much. Not so much. There's probably, I've ran into in the last, I'm trying to think. See, we're like you. We started in 2020 when the pandemic hit. We switched heavily to medical. We were restaurant based prior. I mean, we were rocking and rolling.
That's the story. Come
Yeah,
on.
right.
Okay.
And when COVID
Wow.
hit, it's like, wait a minute. I had some big restaurant deals that fell apart because
Yeah.
buyers got scared. So I had to reinvent and repivot and say, okay, what businesses can we sell that's recession proof, SBA financeable, and have a high net worth client base, right? And of course, it was medical.
Your business is cool. All right, so
it is. I like it.
You've been around for 5 years, but give us the story, man. How did you go from what was happening before the 5 years? restaurants, and then how did you get into this? Give us the story.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so again, I started on residential real estate, right? So back then, this was 20 some odd years ago. I started in residential real estate. I was looking for a side hustle, so I started looking at pizza restaurant, a small little pizza place, and a Baskin Robbins franchise, right? And that's when I came across business brokers, and I thought, oh wow, there's
Hold
people
on.
that
What were you doing before that?
before real estate.
Yeah.
Oh man, well I don't know. I believe it or not, I was in law enforcement. So
What? Okay, so you were a police officer?
a state investigator.
So you went from school, state investigator, and then state investigator to real estate.
Well, it was actually from school to LA County probation department to the state as an investigator, then investigator, then doing real estate, and then eventually went straight into full time into real estate.
So I want to, because I always want to catch when the big pivotal moments happen that kind of led you up to the success you're having today. So, what happened where it was state work and then suddenly you're saying, no, I'm about to do this real estate thing and go all the way?
Oh, that's a good question. I wanted to move to Hawaii. And so when I moved to Hawaii, right, that was my dream, was to live in Hawaii. So obviously I gave up my state job. And then when I went to Hawaii, I got into real estate, into mortgage loans and real estate. And that's where I learned the business.
Okay. How long were you doing real estate before you wanted to make another pivot, and why?
Oh man, I've been doing real estate for over 25 years. And then I just got tired of the vaulted ceilings and the granite countertops and that type of thing. And I liked watching Shark Tank. I liked business. Yeah. And I thought, you know what, man, and remember, I was looking at side hustles to begin with. I was looking at Baskin Robbins franchises and pizza places. And that's when I realized, wow, there's people that sell this. And so I added business brokerage. It's called business brokering, right? So into the real estate business. And then I kind of just slowly transitioned out of residential to businesses. And then I decided to specialize in restaurants. So I have a company that's still around, Pacific Restaurant Brokers in Orange County. And so that's what I did since 2015. And then again, when COVID hit, we had some nice deals in the pipeline, restaurant deals, right. And those fell apart because everyone's scared, right?
Yep.
And that's when I had to pivot the company and say, okay, what else can we sell? Again, that's COVID proof, easily financeable with the bank, and good high ticket items, right? So that was obviously medical. And so in 2020,
so obviously medical. Well, hold on. You say obviously medical because in your opinion, you just said, well, medical, or you had a discussion with someone or somebody highlighted that to you. How did you conclude on medical?
I just sat down and thought about it. I thought, okay, what industry is recession proof? Well, everyone, you can't shut down a medical clinic, right? Yeah, so that was an obvious choice, right? You can't shut down medical. And they're high net worth clients, right? Yeah. I mean, think about the guy who buys an average $300,000-$400,000 restaurant, right? I mean, they're going to be their day to day. They're not as financially sophisticated as someone like a doctor, right? Or
actually, doctors are notorious for being the worst financial.
That's true too. That's true too. But you understand what I'm saying in terms of the net worth, right? It's easier for them to buy
their amount of resources. The resources they can tap into.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And so it was just a natural. Oh yeah, medical is a clear choice. So that's when we pivoted.
Tell me, first of all, how big is your team?
We are five.
Okay,
5 people.
What was it a deal that happened that you said, okay, guys, we're here. This is the state. This is the space. This is the right space. All engines on this space. Like, what happened?
Yeah, my first deal was it was a referral from a medical-based attorney. He referred me a lab supply company.
Okay.
So the lab supply company they supplied labs with reagents and supplies and they also did consulting for the labs, and that was my first sale in the industry. And that's after we closed that deal, I thought, okay, guys, this is it, man. This is where we need to be at. Some of my guys followed, some of them didn't, and that's okay. Some people you get really they get comfortable with in this case restaurants that they don't want to. It's hard for them to shift over.
Right.
But I'm an entrepreneur. I go where I think the deal's at, where the money's at. So I don't have a problem pivoting. And So, but that was it. Yeah, that first deal, our first year out, that first deal, that was my game changer. I said, okay, I'm all in now. I mean, once
Wow.
you've, yeah, yeah, and because it was a nice transaction. It was a 6-figure
Sure.
commission. After that, it's hard to go back to the smaller,
No,
30,
I
40
mean,
thousand.
yeah. I mean, why would you? But this is fascinating. So, and at that time, did you have a team of five, or
No,
it was kind of up
no,
and
it
down?
was
Okay.
it was I think me and a couple other guys back then. So actually, I had a couple of sales reps from the medical spa industry that are working for me part time. So they're out there now making the transition. So they're
Hence the focus
as
on
your med
on
spa
med spas.
reps. What's that?
Hence the focus on med spas.
Yes, for them it is. I don't, I also sell, like I said, my first company was a lab supply company.
Right.
I actually have
Right.
another one for sale right now. So yeah, and then I also have a medical lab for sale out in Texas. So there's just different. It's just whatever comes along in the medical space that I think that is something that I want to sell. I'll take. So I'm pretty choosy. I don't just take anything that comes across my
Sure.
my doorstep.
So
And a
so
lot
if
of
I'm a
brokers do. I'm not that type of broker.
sure. So if I'm a medical sales rep and I've been in the game for 25 years, I have millions in retirement. I have maybe 1 or 2 million to spend, and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm ready to exit. I want to go buy a business. I'm going to look up what to buy. Is the route you're talking about a great route to like? Is that something someone should consider if they're trying to figure out what to do next? Or would you say not really? It's very nuanced and it's just case by case basis.
Oh no, you mean become an M&A advisor?
No. I mean to just be someone that become an entrepreneur that buys a business through an M&A advisor.
Oh yeah, I mean that's. I mean, how else are you going to find a company, right? I mean, usually it's through a business broker or a M&A advisor, depending on the size and the focus of the business.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, otherwise it's hard to find. I mean, if you go online, I mean, there's different business finding websites, right? Most of those businesses are put on by business brokers and M&A advisors.
Okay.
But I thought
Now,
you meant for a sales rep to become an M&A advisor. That to
no.
me is a good pivot.
Okay, we'll talk about that too. But that was my next question. So
Okay.
with someone going to an M&A advisor to think about their next act, you talked about earlier how most people that find you, or not maybe not most, but a lot of people that find you, they're entrepreneurs. They've been doing this. They know what they're doing, and they look, just find me the right deal, or I like the deal that you have on your website. Does it make sense? Is it all everything that I want? It is great. Let's go. Most
Okay.
people. But then you
Okay.
also shared that you have people that want the help, right? They want the support. They want the business. They have the funds. They know the industry, but maybe they haven't ran a business before. Would you recommend if I'm a sales rep and I'm on my outs and I'm looking for that next thing and I want to become an entrepreneur? Is it as easy as, well, I'm going to call Jerry. Jerry's going to talk with me. I'm going to show Jerry I have the funds to buy this, and then Jerry's going to help me take this company to the nth degree, or not quite?
No, those are so people that do that are like consultants. Like for example, like, again, I do specialize in the medical spa space. If you go to our website, you'll see under our resource page we have consultants, and that's what they do, right? Like if I get a call from a client who's hey, I want to sell my medical spa, and the revenues aren't so good, I can give them some advice, but I'm not going to be there on a weekly basis with them to show them, okay, this is the nitty gritty stuff, right?
Sure.
There's med spa consultants or just business consultants that specialize in certain sectors that help with that. And then you can hire them. They'll do a much better job than someone like me, because my time and focus is selling a business, not helping you run your business more efficiently, right? So
Gotcha.
I'm not the
Yeah.
best fit for that. But there are consultants out there that will, for a fee, will help you ramp up your business and take it to the next level.
Yeah. So, there's the old adage, and maybe it's not an adage, but there's a saying that goes, business is very hard to run, and most businesses don't make it past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
From your vantage point and what you do you agree with that or disagree with that?
Yes, this is okay. So let's qualify that. The businesses that don't make it past the first 5 years, usually they're startups, right? The guy just decided, he woke up one morning and says, okay, I want to start my own business. And now he's doing everything from A to Z.
Right.
That's much different than someone who buys a business that's already got a 3-year history, has employees, and has nice profit margins. Okay. Someone's already did the hard work for you. That's why you're going to pay a premium for this business that's already existing. It's called an ongoing concern. Okay. The reason why is because probability of that failing is way lower now because it's been in business for the last 3 years. It's a proven racehorse.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, to answer your question, most startups fail within the first 5 years.
Okay. Would we say that most proven racehorses succeed?
Yep. Because
Wow.
they're proven, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
remember, right? If I'm buying a business and it's already been running well, right? All I have to do is just continue working it. I don't have
Sure.
to figure out I don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Sure. Now, you did say earlier that, most of these people know this business well, but you also have people that don't know the business well, right?
Right. Yep.
What percentage of that of your clientele is that?
So I'm going to answer it by this way. It all depends on the size of the business that I'm selling. For example, when I'm selling a multi-unit medical practice, you already know it's not going to be the first-time business owner. It's not going to be the doctor who's just tired of working at Kaiser and wants to buy up another practice, right? Because you're talking. It's like this. It's like learning to drive a Toyota versus learning to drive a Ferrari.
Okay.
Right? People that jump into Ferraris are already skilled drivers, but the guy that's jumping into a Toyota, it's probably his first car.
Right.
So it depends on the business, right? On a smaller medical practice or a smaller business, maybe a medical supply company, it's going to be maybe a guy who's tired of working for the man and wants to go out there and start his own and buy business, and so to replace his income.
What takes up the most of your clientele? Is it people that? Yeah. Well, just go ahead and answer that.
Most of my clients are high net worth clients, very sophisticated.
Okay. So you have a percentage that are not sophisticated, lower net worth. And I guess my question is their success looks similar, or do they fall back into that category of the startup? The person that's not sophisticated?
No, because usually, remember, so usually the average listing that I have is about 2 to 3 million. Okay. So even if it's even at $1 million business, the buyer who's less sophisticated is still going to be working that business very hard because he's got a lot at stake, right? I mean, that's a lot of money, right? You're in debt for $1 million or whatever you finance it at.
Right.
So they're very conscientious of making the business run. So it's very rare that it goes sideways. I mean, the buyer must have really done something really, really
gotcha.
bad, right? Just got lazy. And this happens. I've had it where we've sold businesses where next thing you know, the buyer's not there anymore. I mean, he's completely hands off. He's at the golf course.
Level.
Yes. And now he's asking us to put it back on the market. It's like, well, wait, what happened? You bought this thing for $1 million. I'm doing the valuation. It's only worth 700. What happened? How'd you lose 300,000 in 2 years? I mean, how often do you go to the store? Well, I'm at the golf course all the time. Okay, well, when you buy a small business like that,
you're not joking. Like people.
No.
Wow.
You have to treat it like your baby, right? It's your baby.
So then, I guess I want to know what is out of all the businesses you sell, what is the most truly absentee business, and how much time does that person still need to spend?
Okay, so let's put away with that. I mean, when we say absentee, right? Remember, there's still got to be an owner at the top running the show, right? Even though you have your employees there, even though you're not there every day, even though you're at the golf course, you better be checking in on your business because remember the saying, no one watches your money more than you do.
Facts.
No one cares about your money more than you do.
No one cares about your business more than you do. Facts.
Exactly. Right. So yes, even though you have staff, you have a good manager running it, you better be on top of your manager, right? You better be checking up on your P&Ls monthly and look at your data, right? Why is my cost of goods running at such and such? Why is my labor cost at such and such? Why is my revenue in certain categories going down on such and such? Okay, you have to be at least at that level monthly looking at your business if you want to succeed. A lot of owners, I don't get my P&L till the end of the year. Well, I'm like, okay, well, no wonder you haven't been watching your business. That's why you wonder why your sales have dropped by 20%, 30%.
And the ones that fall into that category, it's probably because they have enough other businesses that they just it's not that big of a deal.
There's a variety of reasons why people take their eye off the ball, right? A variety of reasons. There's no one. It's like, why do people sell businesses? There's so many reasons why people sell businesses, right? It could be a divorce. It could be health issues. It could be they're moving to be with their grandkids. It could be burnout. It could be retirement. I mean, there's so many reasons.
What's the most common?
For selling, for me, is retirement.
And what's the most common for just not paying attention to the business?
Other businesses. Sometimes, yeah, some owners, they have their hand in different businesses and they just, are spread too thin.
Okay. Now,
or they don't have a good management in place, right? They've taken their ball off their manager, and now the manager's running the show, and the manager's pocketing money, right? And if you're not on your P&Ls monthly, you're not going to know that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you said that the most common person that's selling is retiring. So I'm already assuming that they're baby boomers and Gen Xers. And the person that's trying to make it happen now, it's if you have this population retiring, then the one that's buying the businesses aren't the same population. It's going to probably be the younger population. And so I'm saying,
Yes.
Are you seeing that, or is it not quite?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. We're seeing a lot of the younger generation coming in now and buying these high net worth practices or businesses.
I hope you're enjoying today's episode. And I want to let you know our programs cover the entire career of a medical sales professional. From getting into the medical sales industry, to training on how to be a top performer in the medical sales industry, to masterfully navigating your career to executive level leadership. These programs are personalized and customized for your specific career and background, and trained by over 50 experts, including surgeons. Our results speak for ourselves, and we're landing positions for our candidates in less than 120 days in top medical technology companies like Stryker, Medtronic, Merck, Abbott, you name it. Would you run an Ironman race without training and a strategy? You wouldn't. So why are you trying to do the same with a medical sales position? You need training, you need a strategy, and you need to visit evolveyoursuccess.com, fill out the application, schedule some time with one of our account executives, and let's get you into the position that you've always dreamed of. Now, in addition to that, there's a lot of technology. Online, you can do so much. Is it easier now to run a business? And maybe absentee is just I'm not using that correct way. If it's easier now to run a business, just really not have to be there because you have the technology, you have the resources, and you have a lot of clientele that's like rarely there, but they run a good business.
Absolutely. I just sold a 4-unit medical practice last year, and the owner, who was not a doctor, was a nurse practitioner, ran everything from her laptop. Right, wow. barely went into the different facilities, but of course she was on top of her managers, right? And so she did a very good job on it.
Wow. And are most of your clientele individuals, or are there groups?
Individuals. At the 1 million to 20 million a year in revenue, it's usually the individual.
Okay. This is fascinating. You've piqued my interest. Okay, so let's talk about it. So I'm a medical sales rep, and I have a business, and it's going fairly well. And now I want to buy another business, and I have, what is the lowest amount? I know you said it varies, but do you have businesses that you're selling for $500,000, or is everything at least $1 million, or is everything at least $2 or $3 million? I mean, what's?
Yeah, again, our target client is a business with revenues of $1 million to 20 million, right? So at $1 million, the assumption is it's running a 25% profit margin. So at 25% profit margin, even if I give it a 3x multiple, that's 250K times 3 is 750K, right? So that's about the lowest that I'll work with. Now there's some exceptions. If I see like a med spa that has a lot of potential and it could do, I know it's an easy transition to sell to somebody, I'll take that on. But generally speaking, if it's got less than $1 million in revenue, I'm just too busy. I can't. I'll refer them to other business brokers that have more time for that.
Business brokers. Yeah.
Yes, right.
So, talk to us a little bit about how this business works in the sense of how do you find your deals? Are you just on the scene somewhere or part of a community somewhere, and just how does it all?
No, there's all different avenues, right? E-blasts, right? When you e-blast to a certain sector, we get a lot of referrals. Again, my first transaction was a referral from a medical-based attorney. We get referrals from reps, sales reps, because we offer a referral fee. We offer up to a 1% referral fee on a transaction. I mean, the last referral fee I sent out was $15,000. So we have different ways of getting business, but there's no one way that's better than the other. They all work.
Sure. So if I'm a medical sales rep and I see all these chiefs of surgery and chiefs of neurosurgery and just all these high net worth customers of mine, and I talk about, and I find out some of them actually do want to buy a business, I call you and say, "Hey, Jerry, I think this guy's someone you should talk to, and if you guys successfully get something going, I get 1%."
No, it's
No,
the
okay,
so remember we're sell side, right? So when you're out there and you're talking to business owners, the guy who owns a medical lab, the guy who owns a medical supply company, the doctor, and they're saying, hey, I'm just burned out. I want to sell my company. I'm thinking about retiring next year, or yeah, we're just having, I'm having problems with my partner. I'm thinking about selling. That's when you would call us, and then when we talk to them, we put it on the market, we get it sold. When we get paid at close of escrow, then we cut you out a referral fee. So it's on the sell side, because without a listing, it's hard to make a sale. In our industry, people don't cooperate. For example, in real estate, right? You may have an agent in LA who's showing a client a house in Orange County. And I guess there used to be, I know things have changed now in real estate, but it used to be that both agents would cooperate. In our industry, nobody cooperates, right? Because we don't know, it's a totally different field in that I don't know who the buyer's agent is. I don't know if they understand confidentiality. I don't know if they understand how a business works. And I'm not about to take my listing off the market to work with a broker who I don't even knows what they're doing. And the reality is I'm going to find my buyer anyways, right? I mean, because I only target certain types of companies, I know I'm going to find a buyer on my own.
Got it. So
so the listing is the most important.
Unlike buying a house, you're saying that all the energy goes into making sure this is the appropriate buyer, not and that's where most of the work is. Like we know we can sell this easily. We know that. We need to scrutinize every single buyer to the nth degree. And that's the difference between like buying a house.
Yeah. We want to vet the buyer to make sure that they're not only financially qualified, but operationally qualified.
So how does a medical sales rep that's listening to this episode and that's thinking to themselves, this is fascinating. I have customers all over the place that want to buy, looking for businesses to buy. And I would love to have a revenue stream that is working with someone like Jerry. What exactly are they doing, and what would you say to that?
Well, like I said, so we're sell side. So reverse that, right? Saying instead of I have buyers, I have clients that are buyers. Think about I have clients that are sellers or eventually want to sell. That's where we can help you, because once we sell their company, then we can give you a referral fee.
Got it. Do you have any relationships like that now with medical sales reps?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I mean, talk to us. How does that look? What can someone expect if they were to go that route?
Okay, so our referral fee again is 1% of the sale price. So let's say it's $1 million practice, right? $1 million business. Well, 1% is 10 grand, right? All you need to do is send us, either an intro through email or text. Text both of us, the seller and our company, and we'll take it from there. We'll qualify them. First of all, we'll send out a non-disclosure agreement. Right, because we want to make sure that the seller knows that everything we discuss is confidential.
Sure.
Once we send out the non-disclosure agreement and we have a time to talk with them, then we'll analyze your company. Right, we'll find out about the company, how it's operating. We'll do a valuation, a no-cost valuation. I know some companies, many M&A advisors won't analyze a company without charging a fee up front, and usually it's $3,500. Sure. We don't charge that fee. Right, we just want to be a service to the business community. So we'll do a no-cost valuation, and then we'll tell them what we think we can sell for based on today's climate and market conditions. And if they want to go forward, great. Then we'll set up the sale and put on the market and vet buyers and so forth, and take it from start to finish, start to close of escrow.
So if I sent you 15 business owners in the healthcare by the end of the year, and I said, okay, all these guys want to sell their businesses. These are my contacts. Have at it. And all of them were interested in working with you. I now get 1% of each one of their businesses.
That sells. Remember, it's got to sell.
Yeah, of course. Yes. That sells. I get 1% of each one of them. Wow.
That's right.
Okay. That sounds amazing. Okay, so I got to know then, if it's that easy to just refer you and get paid, do you have reps that have just turned this into like a consistent thing, or it just doesn't shake out that way?
I've had reps that have come over to be full-time M&A advisors.
He's like, I'm gonna give you one better.
So look,
I've retired reps. Wow.
Give you something that's gonna blow your mind.
Yeah,
Okay, look,
please.
I know sales reps, right? The sales rep, the typical day for them is they're on the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
8, 10 hours a day, knocking on
Yep.
doors, trying to get
Yep.
behind the gatekeeper, right?
Yep.
Trying to get to the doctor, and they're
You know
competing
it.
against, right? Again, they're competing
Yep.
against
You're nailing it.
10
Yep.
other reps in the same industry that's trying to do the
Fact.
same thing, right? In our business, it's a little different, right? Everything on our side is done behind the computer, right? Our clients don't want us coming to their business because of
Sure.
confidentiality.
Sure.
All right, so we reach out to them different ways, like I said, right? E-blasts, referrals from professionals, referrals from reps. So we're not out there pounding the pavement like a medical sales rep would be, right? And there's not a lot of people that do what we do, right? Like,
And
how
that was
many
my
M&A
next
advisors do
question.
you
Like,
have?
yeah, because you're saying e-blast, and I'm thinking there must be so much competition, but I guess not.
Now think about it. How many business brokers do you know, right? When you go to a party, how many business brokers are there, right? There's
Sure.
very few of us, and even within that few, how many of them specialize in medical practices, right? So it gets smaller and smaller, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of nice on our end because I don't have a lot of competition.
Sure.
And like I said, we sell nationally. So like I said, my last deal, I'm here in California. My last transaction was in Tennessee. You
Okay.
think I was flying to Tennessee every week? No, everything was done online, right? Zoom
Okay.
and PDF docs and email, and
Okay.
that's how business is done nowadays in our industry.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so I've just I'm sitting. So it's all brain work. Okay, I got to figure out, okay, how much is this business actually valued at? What do I think I can actually sell it for? Right. Then once I have it, how do I make it attractive and appealing to a buyer so when they look at it, they say, okay, I need to put an offer on that. Right. And then once they put an offer, I got to make sure that when we get to the discovery call, that both parties are going to jive and that they're going to, that it's going to go smoothly. Right.
Got
And
it.
then once I get through the discovery call, then I got to go into due diligence and make sure that when the buyers do their deep dive into the practice and the business, that everything is being provided smoothly to them, right? That they're not getting
Okay.
scared away, and that the seller is providing documents quickly, right? So I have to, I'm not gonna say babysit, but I have to walk through this whole thing to
Yeah,
make
you're
sure it doesn't fall
facilitating the
out.
entire process.
Exactly, right? And during that due diligence process, there's a lot of things that's going on, right? Lease transfers, employment agreements, non-compete clauses, and I got to make sure that everything goes smoothly, and that both buyer and seller don't get into an emotional, because it gets very emotional, right? When you're doing your due diligence, when you're buying $1 million, $2 million, $3 million business, it gets very emotional. So you've got to be able to manage those emotions and keep everyone headed forward the same
No, that's
path,
good. Yeah,
right?
you're the point person.
Yes, because what happens is called deal fatigue, right? By the second or third month, the seller's tired of the buyer asking for all these documentations and all this data and stuff, right? And they're getting tired, right? So you got to make sure that, okay, both parties are still seeing
Yeah,
the light at the end of the tunnel.
you're almost like a coach.
Yes, exactly. We're a coach, we're a psychologist, we're everything. Yeah, I can't
Sounds
tell you how
good.
many times as an M&A advisor, I can't tell you how many times I get sellers that just come to me, Jerry, I'm so tired, I'm burned out, blah 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 blah. And I say, okay, remember, we're almost there. Remember,
Yeah.
this is your retirement, right? You remember,
Sure,
you
sure.
told me you wanted to
Yeah.
sail off to the sunset. Okay, well, this is what it takes to make that happen. And
Mm-hmm.
remember, they're paying millions of dollars for your business, so yes, this is normal. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of hand holding and a lot of massaging to make sure it gets to the finish line,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
What are
yeah.
what are the, and I know the answer is going to vary, but generally speaking, what are the standards that you would take on to try to sell? Like when do you say there's no way I'm going to sell that business?
Oh, okay, good
Not,
question.
not
So
not obvious things like they're losing money every year, but just like if what are the detail, a little bit more detail that says, nah, we probably wouldn't do that.
yeah, good question. So we have I look at three things, right? On the first conversation, we ask, okay, first of all, has the business been in business for more than 3 years? Right. So if it's a new business, it's a startup, it just started a year and a half ago, those are hard to sell because there's a lot of risk still. So
Sure.
3-year mark, okay, 3+ years, revenues of $1 million plus. Okay, so it's got to be a healthy business, and it has to have staff of 3 or more, because now I know that the owner isn't the superstar,
Sure.
right? Or he still may be the superstar, but I can advise him to transition and give more of his staff the work so he can spend more time at the golf course, which makes the business more valuable. So those are the three things that I'll look at right off the bat.
Do you coach the businesses you take on? You just said that you'll advise him. So that means there must be a period of you coaching the business to be more attractive.
Yeah, when I have that discovery call with the seller and they don't meet either one of those three criteria, right? I will try to pinpoint what they need to do and give them advice on how to get there, so that hopefully a year from now, when they call me, we're sellable.
Got it.
Right. So if I, and again, the discovery call, it takes about 45 minutes. I'll go in a deep dive into their business and how it's being run. Right. And I'll analyze certain things and I'll ask them certain questions. And then based on how they answer, then I can say, well, in my experience selling, high net worth businesses in this sector, this is what they've done. Right. And then now it's if you're the owner, now it's your choice whether you want to do that or not. But all I can do is give you some advice, free advice, right? Free advice that's going to help your companies sell down the road for a higher price.
So you've doing this for 5 years. So I'm gonna gamble here. You've probably seen a lot of what running a healthcare related business looks like, doing it the right way or doing it the wrong way. You could probably assess that pretty easily.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Talk to us. What are the top 3 things you believe any entrepreneur that is in trying to put themselves in a position to sell a business that you would definitely say that they have to have? Like if you're thinking about truly being a player that can sell your business, you got to see this. What does that look like?
Okay, first one is your financial records. They have to be clean. Okay, I can't tell you how many times an owner has having their sister-in-law do the books. Okay, the bookkeeping. Right, and she's doing it on a part-time thing. She's probably working at Target full-time, and she's doing this on the side. It's like, okay, when your revenues are, when you're doing $1 million a year, you can afford a bookkeeper now. Okay, you don't need your sister-in-law who's doing this part-time after Target to do your books, because that's the worst, right? Because all the numbers are all jacked up. Okay, and then I, as the advisor, have to sift through it, because when I take this to market and the buyer looks at it, they're going to be scratching their head, right? So I got to make sure that this document is readable, is legible for a buyer.
Right.
Okay. Right. So that's number one. You got to have clean books and records. Don't be cheap on getting a bookkeeper. Don't hire a bookkeeper once a year to do it at the end of the year. Have your books done monthly. Okay. You need, as an owner, you need to see your numbers monthly.
Sure.
Okay, that's the biggest thing advice I can give any buyer, because I'm not a buyer, any seller, because that's the first thing a buyer is going to look at. Show me the books, show me the financials. Okay, number 2, make sure you're not the superstar, right? When I like for example, I'll just use a medical practice. When I Google the website for that medical practice, is it Dr. Smith, and Associates, or is it LA County Medicine, right? Don't have the owner be the superstar.
Okay, so on that note, if a lot of businesses, the brand is just better than any business entity could be identified with. So you have Dr. So-and-so, but when you look at the business, he's just not involved, but they're using him for branding. Are you saying that, how are you tying that into what you just stated?
Okay, I'll give you an example. I had a business just like that. Okay, it was Dr. So-and-so, anti-aging clinic. The guy was killing. He was doing $4 million a year in revenue. I mean, that's unheard of for this type of business.
Sure.
The problem was that it was his name everywhere. So I told him, Doc, you need to change this. We need to change this to, and he changed it. I won't say the name, but for example, LA Aesthetics Clinic. Okay, that's much more encompassing than Dr. Joe's Med Spa. Right. The perception now, this is not a little mom and pop, but it's a bigger company.
Okay, so this is all pertaining to just what it needs to look like when you actually sell it. Like, how do we just make it look that much more attractive? And from your experience, it looks way more attractive when it's not just your name versus a business entity name.
Right, and the reason why is because, again, put yourself in the shoes of a buyer. If I'm buying a business and it's I'm using Joe's Hamburger Stand, right? Well, no, let's go back to the practice. Okay, it's Dr. Smith's. He's the main person I go to see when I'm there. Well, what happens if Dr. Smith moves on? What happens to the client, to the patient base? Well, you're going to lose probably a good 30% of them, right? Because they were going there to see Dr. Joe. He's the superstar, right?
Right.
Secondly, when a buyer buys the company, let's say, again, you take Dr. Joe out of the picture, how do they keep people coming back to that, right? You're going to have that attrition from clients. But when Dr. Joe isn't the superstar, he's got providers under him, okay, then it's an actual business, right? The people are going to still keep coming to that business regardless if Dr. Joe is behind the front desk or not. Okay, so that's what you want. You want a business that's not dependent on the owner or the what employee.
Okay. What's number three?
Well, number three, wow, that's a good one. Just make sure that you take care of any type of medical. Well, you have a clean business, meaning that you don't have any issues with the medical board. You don't have any issues with any patients that are trying to sue you for a botched up procedure.
You see that a lot.
Yes. In fact, I just got a call yesterday from a doctor who had his license revoked. So he wants to sell his medical spa, which is still sellable because thank God for him, he wasn't the superstar, right?
Sure.
So there you go, lesson learned. So again, make sure there's no medical board issue. Make sure there's no workman's comp issues. Make sure there's no issues with the patients, right? Because a buyer wants to buy a hassle-free business. Okay, so those three things is what I would say right off the bat. Make sure that you take care of that before we have to take care of that before we take it to market.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So those are the top three things that need to be there. What are the top three qualities you've seen in the people that are doing this? And you've been doing this, it seems like long enough where you can probably assess someone off of a short meeting and say, you know what? Yeah, this guy is probably going to deliver, or I don't know about this one. What are those character traits that you identified?
It's people that have the drive and the ambition, because this is, it's you're going to get rejection as well, but not anywhere near what you get as a medical sales rep. But you've got to be able to be very disciplined and make the calls and make the emails and get back to clients, right? Don't spend half the day at the golf course. I mean, we have that. People in business brokerage, like they think, and don't get me wrong, right? Like, for example, when you only do one or two deals and they're big deals, depending on how much you want to make, well, okay, that's how much you have to work, right? So it goes back to your first year. It's going to be the hardest because you're out there, you're making a name for yourself, right? You're getting your name out there and telling people what you do. So it goes back to that discipline, that drive. We're all independent contractors, so we don't get paid until we close a deal. So you've got to be able to hang on. And I'll be honest with you, right? My first transaction didn't close for until I think 8 months down the road, right? Because it takes time to find the right business, and then it takes time to find the right buyer. And then it has that due diligence period, right? But the payoff is when you close that first deal, it's a six-figure commission.
Yeah.
So how many do you have to do in a year to make a comfortable living for yourself, right? How much? And so it goes back to that mentality of, okay, this is not a quick sale. You're not going to get rich tomorrow. You're not going to make a living tomorrow, but it's a career. Once you get your career off that ground the first year, now it's nice, right?
Yeah, you got to have the grit. You got to have the grit to see it through.
Yes, right? It's a long-term commitment, and it pays off really well.
So I know that every deal is different, but what is the average sales cycle for these kinds of deals?
So when you say sales cycle, you mean the time to sell it?
Yeah. How long does it take when you have somebody that has a business they're ready to sell, and it's time to make it happen, and you find qualified buyers? Is it overnight? Is it months and months and months? Is it a couple of weeks?
It's going to take. Okay, so let's say once you find the buyer, right, and you do the discovery call, and both buyer and seller are agreeable. Okay, then we go into the due diligence phase. That due diligence phase, again, that's where the buyer hires their CPA and their attorney to do a deep dive into the business. Typically speaking, on a smaller business, it's between 2 to 3 months for due diligence. Now, on the bigger multi-unit businesses, like I sold a 4-unit medical practice, that took 9, almost 10 months for due diligence because there was so much data and so much to go into, right? But of course, the paycheck was a lot bigger, right?
Right.
So it all goes back to the size of the business and how clean the books and records are. Remember I told you it goes back to how clean everything is, right? And there's no issues with the business. Okay, so yeah, but minimum, like for example, I have well, Lord willing, it's going to close here in the next couple of weeks, but I just listed a med spa not even a month and a half ago, and the buyer came in. He's in the same industry. He's paying all cash. He wants to close it ASAP.
Wow.
Okay, that's the exception. That's exception to the rule. Okay, usually they don't close within a month and a half of listing.
Sure.
Okay, but in this case, the two doctors know each other. They both have been directors for the same company at one time, and so they speak the language. They know what they're doing, and it's a quick deal.
Nice.
So every so often you get that. Every so often, but that's not typical.
That's not common, right?
Right.
Okay, so what do you have to have as a buyer? What are the three things that a buyer, if they're showing up to buy from you, they better have A, they better have B, and they better have C.
Right. So first thing we ask is a non-disclosure agreement. They've got to sign a non-disclosure agreement with us before we even talk to them. Number two is they have to show us proof of funds. Right. We need to show that these guys are actually capable of purchasing the business that we have. And thirdly, we like to vet them. So we ask for a little bit about their bio, who they are and what they've done. And
what are you vetting them for? So you say vet them. What are you vetting?
I want to make sure they're a good fit for the business. Right, because the last thing I want to do is waste my time or my seller's time by putting a non-qualified buyer just to kick the tires.
Got it.
Okay, or doesn't have the necessary skills to make the existing company perform. Because remember, a lot of my deals are SBA finance, meaning Small Business Administration, right? The buyer goes to the bank, they get a loan through a bank that's SBA guaranteed. So the SBA is going to be looking at them as, okay, who is the buyer as well? Do they have experience in this industry? Do we feel that they're going to be able to run this company and continue the same sales as the prior owner? Right? So if they can't get, if they have proof of funds, meaning that they have the down payment, I still have to make sure they can get the loan based on their experience. Now, if they're coming in all cash in their private equity group, that's a different story, right? If they got all cash and okay, yeah, I got it. They have a fund of $10 million and they're looking for a business. That's different. Okay, I can. So again, I vet the buyer to see who they are, what's their composition, and is it worth my time and my seller's time.
So what if it's someone that wants to change industries, though? What if, they've been doing this for so many years and they wanted to shake things up? They've shown competency, but the business has nothing to do with what they've been doing. How did they get qualified to buy a business from you?
So I'll ask them, I'll ask them, how do you plan on running this company after you take over it?
You specifically, you are actually sitting down and interviewing you.
Right. Because see, the people don't understand, the advisors are the gatekeepers, right? I'm not going to, these are my listings, right? These are my clients, my sellers. So I'm very choosy as to who I let into this business, right? And that's my job. That's what my sellers hire me for. So I got to make sure that the buyer, again, is qualified, that's not going to run the business to the ground. So if I feel that he has some experience or some knowledge in the industry, okay, I'll give him a shot. Right. If I ask him, for example, right, to buy a medical practice in California, at least you have to be a doctor. So I'll ask him, why are you a doctor? If they say no, I'm not. Well, then I'm sorry, I can't help you. But if he says, well, I do have an MSO. Okay, well, now that changes everything, because that tells me, first of all, for him to know what an MSO is, he's sophisticated enough that he's done his homework. Now I'll talk to them, right? But I won't throw out, okay, here's what you need. An MSO is a management services organization, by the way. So it's a different way of owning a medical practice in certain corporate practice of medicine states. So if they come up with some sort of intelligent answer as to how do you plan on running this if you're not a doctor, that determines how whether I present him to my seller or not. Sure. I'm not going to babysit a buyer. I don't have the time, and it's a lot of risk for the buyer. If you don't know what you're doing, don't be buying $1 million business. Because you're gonna lose.
Yeah, no, I get it. This is very refreshing, Jerry. I learned a lot today on how these kind of things work, and I'm so fascinated that your industry is as small as it is. There's not a lot of players. Why do you think that is?
I think part of it is, remember I told you, sometimes you may not get paid for another year, right? So you got to have that wherewithal to make it happen and stay into the game. And a lot of people don't have that. They're looking for a job. They're not looking for a career. Now, for me, when I first started out, when I jumped into my first straight commission job. I was working, and this was back in the days, a toy store called Toys R Us. Right, so here I am with a master's degree, working evenings and weekends, working at a freaking toy store. But I knew in my head, hey, look, this is what it takes to become financially free. This is what it takes to break away from that corporate grind. This is what it's going to take for me to supply wealth for my family. So I was willing to pay the price. A lot of people are not willing to pay the price.
When does that
I hear
show up?
they say they will, but they
When does that show up? When do they kind of give it away that this person is not in it for the long haul?
Oh, I'll know it within the first month. If I say, look, you need to spend a minimum 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, looking for listings. If they don't have a listing by the end of the month, that tells me they haven't been working. Because how is it that you're out there pounding the emails and the phone and not find someone who's looking to sell within a month? Right? It just tells me you're not working it. Because again, there's businesses. It's not like real estate, right? Businesses sell more often than real estate because it's just a job. It's just a business. It's not someone's home, right? It's not eventually they're going to get tired. Eventually they're going to go through a divorce. Eventually they're going to have sickness. Eventually they're going to want to retire. So you're telling me you're out there 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you haven't found one person to say, yeah, I'm that. Okay, that doesn't compute.
I get it. Wow. Well, Jerry, thank you for spending time with us today and explaining this fascinating world of business brokering in healthcare.
Sure, my pleasure.
If sales reps listening to this right now, or even doctors, and they're thinking to themselves, I want to see about his businesses, they go to your website and they find all this good stuff. What's your website and how do they reach you specifically?
Oh yeah, our website address is the name of the company. I'm sorry, PacificRB.com. So Pacific R like restaurant and B like broker. So it's PacificRB.com. Okay, that'll get you to our website. My direct email is jdiza@pacificrb.com. And my telephone number is 949-427-0304. Probably best to text me first, because otherwise, if I don't know who it is, I usually don't answer. But
Right.
yeah, I'd be happy to answer anyone's questions and give whatever I can to help the community.
Absolutely. All that will be in the show notes, folks. Okay, Jerry, we have one more thing to do today before we wrap this up. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. This is called the lightning round. I'm going to ask you 4 questions. You have less than 10 seconds to answer. Yeah, hey, you show up. It's what happens.
Wait a minute.
All right. First question. What's the best book you read in the last 6 months?
The Bible. I love reading scriptures.
Wow. 220 episodes. I've never heard that answer.
Really?
Cool.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. I give everything to the Lord. I mean, the Lord.
Amen.
It's just, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Second question. What is the best TV show or movie you've seen in the last 6 months?
Oh man, I hate to admit this, but you've probably heard of Yosemite, right? Or was it that one? It just came out. Yosemite, I think it's called.
Yosemite. Who's the actor?
Kevin Costner.
Oh, Yellowstone. That's what you're talking
Yellowstone.
I've never heard of it.
I got caught up in it. There you go. I was thinking of Yosemite for some reason.
That's great. All right.
Okay. So there's I think it's called 1883, which is the history before Yellowstone.
Yeah.
It was his family when they first came from the east to the west.
Sure.
And I'm watching that now, and it's just incredible. It just talks about the hardship that settlers had to face. And
wow.
I'm not a Western type of guy, right? I don't really find it fascinating. But this, for some reason, 1883 just caught my attention.
The history is something you can be pretty interested by. I get it. Wow. I haven't seen 1883, but now that you're saying it, when it's time to relax, maybe I will.
There you go.
Okay. Third question. What is the best? We want the location, the item, and the restaurant. What's the best restaurant you've had in the last the best meal you've had in the last 6 months? Oh
man. Okay. So there's this little hole in the wall in Cerritos. It's look at it, a free plug for the restaurant, right? A free plug. Original Thai barbecue. They have the best pad thai, the best chicken barbecue, and the best beef satays. I mean, we'll drive. We're about 45 minutes away, and we'll drive there just for the meal.
What? What's the name again?
Original Thai barbecue in Cerritos.
Original Thai barbecue.
If they're listening, I better get a royalty on this or something. What the heck?
And then last but not least, what's the best experience you've had in the last 6 months?
Wow, in the last 6 months. Okay, remember, I think I mentioned to you, right, that we had a little house fire. So we've been hopping around from different Airbnbs. And for the summer, we were at this Airbnb with an ocean view. Oh, gorgeous. Ocean view from the bedrooms and the kitchen. And you
Mm,
open up your window and you would hear the ocean crashing.
mm.
So that was like being on vacation for
Yeah,
summer.
that's
Yeah,
cool. That's cool.
with
Jerry,
my
again, thank
family,
you.
of course.
Yeah, right. Thanks again for the time, Jerry. This was fantastic. And
Yeah, Samuel,
we
good.
can't wait to hear more from what you do as you continue to broker these businesses and sell these healthcare entities.
Awesome. Thank you. I enjoyed hanging out with you and having this time with you.
And that was Jerry Diza. You know, this is cool stuff. There's a whole world out there that is that anyone can be a part of with the brokering businesses within healthcare. You know, when I see opportunities like this, I think of, maybe it's a rep that you've been doing it for a while and you're thinking, I want to shake things up a bit. I want to try something else. This makes so much sense. Or maybe you want to be a rep, but you're not sure. You want to do it, but because of where you're coming from, you're still open to other things. When you see an opportunity like this where you can be in healthcare, broker healthcare businesses with individuals that have high net worth that can easily make it happen, it's an exciting proposition to be a part of. As always, we do our best to bring you guests that are doing things differently in the medical space. So if you're interested in this opportunity, make sure you check our show notes and send us a message or reach out to Jerry on his website. And make sure you tune in next week for another episode of the Medical Sales Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a customized and personalized program that gets you into the medical technology industry as a sales professional, or any type of role for that matter. Become a top performer in your position and masterfully navigate your career to executive level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolvesuccess.com by visiting our site, filling out an application, schedule some time with one of our account executives, and allowing us to get you where you need to be. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews on the Medical Sales Podcast.